Hey everyone, welcome to Feelings with the Geekiary. I'm Erin. I'm here with Tara and Vaughn. We're fans, we have feelings, and this is where we webcast about them. It's August, like the end.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's been forever since the three of us got together, like two
I
months.
know. So long. You guys were out having fun without me. That's fine. Um, Friendly reminder that this is also a podcast, so please subscribe to us on iTunes so you don't miss any of our feelings. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, please remember that this is recorded live, so we're not exactly sure what's going to happen. Please forgive us any technical difficulties or accidental swears. You can join the conversation with the hashtag Geekiary Feelings. Come on, how will we know we're wrong if you don't tell us?
We'd like to remind all of you that the views expressed on this webcast are those of the hosts as individuals and do not necessarily represent the Geekiary or the webcast itself as a whole.
Yeah, don't
Right.
blame us for what the other person said, please.
I think generally we agree on most stuff, so.
Yeah, I know. But one day, one of us is going to say something and we'll be like, what? No.
Oh,
All right. Okay, so I just saved the Geek Year as a Patreon, and you can get cool perks if you sign up, like an interactive webcast, so, joining our admin and some other people. And we also have a GoFundMe garage sale, which I think is still going on. Moving on, news, which is our favorite topic, first topic, hashtag Hairgate. Seeing as like the whole world just can't accept that Jon Snow's dead, and we've moved on.
I mean, for a while we were going with Man Bun Gate too.
Oh yeah, Man Bun Gate.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if there's any new man buns on the horizon, and we're also not going to be getting any more Jon Snow for a while because Game of Thrones doesn't start filming until winter,
Yeah.
and it doesn't air till next summer. So,
I'm
oh
sure stuff
well.
will happen. I don't
Oh
think he's
yeah.
cut his hair. I personally think he likes his hair.
Oh, I'm sure. Kit Harington or Jon Snow or both.
Both. Both. I feel like there's not much difference between Kit Harington and Jon Snow.
I mean, he's been in other things, but nothing really awesome. So.
He was in, that like a really terrible movie, wasn't he?
Yeah, Rome, or was it Rome? No, that's a
I
TV
don't
show.
know.
It was something about Roman, like the Roman Empire, I think.
Something terrible.
Yeah.
There are always lots of man buns around because they're quite
Oh,
popular.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is a specific man bun that we're talking about.
I mean, I feel like, you know, Jon Snow, he was just a bit too late to the party. Like the man bun was already a thing before he had one. So,
Is Jon Snow having a man bun like the man bun jumping the shark? Like, is that the end?
oh my gosh, what if it is? What if him
Yeah.
having a man bun means that we aren't going to be seeing them as much anymore?
They're like, that's it. It's gone mainstream. Jon Snow's done it then.
Oh, geez. Anyway, so since we don't have any Jon Snow hair news,
This is the most
uh,
important news.
yeah, but it's downtime right now. So, um, we do have a news section on our website. So, what are some of the big things you guys have written about lately?
I have not written about much because I'm a lazy, but other people have written about things, I gather.
Yeah, I wrote like an iZombie post a week or so ago. They had a few more things that were released from like private San Diego Comic-Con interviews and from their panel and stuff like that. And I mean, we had a bunch of information already, but I mean, it's not coming back until January, so it's kind of, I mean, really, there's not much going on news-wise right now.
Yeah.
there was a Walking Dead trailer or clip that was aired that's, meant to make people think that Negan killed Daryl, but honestly made me think like the opposite because it was too obvious. So
Or maybe it's like a double thing it's trying to make you, it's so obvious to make you think that it's not happening, but then it is.
I mean, I have friends who have, conjectures about who it's going to be, and none of them think it's going to be Daryl. I like Daryl, but I think that's the only character death that would be really that would cause an uproar the way Walking Dead tends to try to do lately. So I don't know. Thankfully, we'll find out in a month and a half.
Erin?
So.
Erin, have you got any news? Surely you have news.
There's not really a lot going on right now. I wrote an article, I think last week, that I find very exciting, which is that the CW is developing a TV series based on the 80s film The Lost Boys, which in itself is just okay. I love The Lost Boys. It's one of my favorite movies, but it's going to be written and created and executive produced by Rob Thomas.
Ooh.
Which, to me, just sounds like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that actually fits kind of into what we're talking about in a bit. But yeah, no, I love Lost Boys. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. So yeah,
right.
I think it'll translate well to a TV show.
I don't think I've ever seen it, to be honest.
What?
Well, let's be fair. I was raised in a home where we weren't allowed to see a lot of stuff. So it's just one of those things that, for whatever reason, I never got around to seeing later either. So I had a lot to catch up on.
They often do, I know around here and in England and stuff, they do showings of Lost Boys at Halloween and things like that.
Oh, really?
So I don't know.
It's so good.
It's a cult classic, so it's always kind of around. If you can see it on the big screen with people, it's fun.
Yeah. Like Rocky Horror or The Room.
Yeah, well, not really that bad. It's not that level of shouting at the telly at the screen.
It's like peak Corey Haim.
Yeah, peak Corey's.
That's true.
It's both Corey's, man.
It is both Corey's, but
I do know that. So
yeah,
I do
really
know
good.
some things.
I mean, I think it is the Corey's movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it is that's the one you want to watch.
Agreed.
Okay. Anything else? Any other news? Something exciting?
I mean, there's the rumors that Epcot is going to have a Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster. And when I say rumors, I mean it's all but been confirmed. They've been talking about shutting down Universe of Energy, the sort of ride that features Ellen and Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Nye the Science Guy. They've been talking about shutting that ride down for years and years and years, and now they can't. My guess is, with all the Star Wars stuff going in at Hollywood Studios, which is where a Guardians of the Galaxy thing would probably fit better, they don't have room for it there. So I have no idea how they're going to make it fit into the whole Epcot thing, the edutainment, experimental prototype community tomorrow. So a lot of people are not happy about this very strong possibility, but at this point, the park is nothing like Walt's original idea, and they really can't get much worse than Frozen Ever After replacing a ride about Norway's history and culture in the Norway Pavilion. So
what do you mean? Are you saying Frozen isn't a historical documentary of Norway?
No.
Oh, no.
It's fictional.
No, that's untrue. I refuse to believe that.
I guess I would have been totally okay with them putting that ride in somewhere, but it just has no place in the World Showcase.
Oh no, I agree. I'm being sarcastic.
Agree.
So.
Oh, I know. I mean, I know you're being sarcastic, but let's be very clear here.
Yeah, it
that
doesn't
it
have
has
any place.
no place where it is right now.
No.
Why isn't
Now,
it
as
in
far
Magic Kingdom? Like,
no one knows.
Because they're running out of space and they have too many properties that they need to include.
they're not really running out of space. If you've ever driven around the Walt Disney World property, there are huge, like hundreds of acre swaths of land where there's nothing.
Well, you have to like develop that. Like that would like put in
True.
like the cost of that would be
Well,
a
I mean,
lot.
they're charging over $100 a ticket now,
Yeah.
like per day. So
Oh yeah, but no. See, I thought you're talking about costs like normal people talk about costs, not like big corporations talk about costs.
yeah, I mean, I just having like worked for Disney and I have friends who still work there. Just they're not having money troubles, put it that way.
Because they don't spend any money.
Yeah,
How do
they
you
don't
think
really.
rich people get rich, man?
Okay, well, going back to the actual story,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster. Epcot is my favorite park at Disney World.
Same.
I'm a big Disney parks freak.
Same.
And there's so much unused space at Epcot. And to me, if they can leverage anything Marvel, it doesn't maybe fit in with Epcot necessarily, but I think that at least Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like space, future, meh,
Well, and it
that
also
kind of, I
has
mean, you know,
direct ties to Earth. You know, Peter Quill is half
sure.
human, so like, you know, maybe they can do something that ties it into Epcot. Maybe they won't bother, but they've never had a roller coaster there, so that's kind of like finally.
Yeah.
And it could be a draw for people, like to get people in there and see other things.
Yeah.
We
So
don't want more people at Epcot, though.
No.
more people.
No. I like Epcot the way it is.
I feel like if you put a Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster in there, that's gonna change.
I mean, to be honest, like every time I've been to Disney in the past, like, I don't know, 3 years, it's been getting progressively crazier at every park, including Epcot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you used to be able to go in the middle of the week in like the end of September or the middle of October when or whatever, when there weren't any holidays from school and whatnot and kids are in school. You used to be able to go and not wait but 20 minutes or less for every single ride, even the most popular ones. That doesn't exist anymore. It is busy all the time. It's like it's almost as bad on a random weekend in October as it is on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yes, I agree with that, and I think a lot of it has to do with FastPass Plus, but that is not a conversation that we need to have on feelings. But I do have a lot of feelings about it. So maybe one time we can have like a Disney chat.
Yeah.
That would be fun, yeah. I'd be down for that. Future idea for a feelings episode. Walt Disney World chat.
We have a lot of feelings about that apparently. Okay.
Anyway, otherwise the only other news that I have that's I know is recent because it's something I'm part of is Beach CityCon, our Steven Universe convention. Kickstarter starts at midnight EDT on September 1st. So crossing our fingers that we get funded. I've been back and forth with a guy who represents several of the voice actors from the show. So if we can get our Kickstarter funded and meet some flex goals, we may even be able to have some voice actors from the show there. And we've had a lot of interest, so I'm really excited. That's my big news. It's both personal and not because it's a convention. So
that's exciting, though.
Yeah,
it is. It's very exciting.
It's like scary and exciting because like Ice and FireCon has been a thing for so long that it's been forever since I started a con from scratch, and thankfully this time I know my way around the block a lot more than I did back then. but it's, the idea of doing a Kickstarter is scary to me because there's only been a couple conventions that tried to get funded through Kickstarters, and one of them was DashCon, and we know what happened with that. And somebody actually was like, "Is this just another DashCon?" And our other organizer, KK, was like, "No, don't worry about that. We have been organizing small, like, fan-run conventions for years, so we're not going to be a DashCon. We're not like overreaching ourselves." But Kickstarter scares me, so.
Well, we wish you the best of luck and look forward to hearing about how it goes. Obviously,
Yes.
September.
Yeah, and I'll be at DragonCon when it starts, so that's going to be interesting.
All right. So moving on to the awesome discussion part, where we're going to talk about, I guess, canceled shows or shows that should have ended, or the way people keep renewing or rebooting or revamping new TV show, old TV shows. I guess that works for movies as well. It's kind of just a thing at the moment. Should it be happening?
Yeah, let me preface this. So I really wanted to talk to you about this because I recently, this is a long story to get to what I want to say, but I recently canceled my DirecTV. I cried, by the way, because I am such a big TV fan. So I've been watching a lot of Hulu in its place. And The Mindy Project is a show that I used to watch when it was on Fox, and then it got canceled by Fox and picked up by Hulu. So that got me to thinking about should shows that get canceled stay canceled? Or, can they find success like the Mindy Project has on something totally different, a different platform, or even shows that get canceled by one network and picked up by another? For example, Nashville just got canceled by ABC, and then CMT picked it up for this fall season. So I just wanted I think it's interesting.
I was wondering about that because I heard that it was like their series finale, and then all of a sudden they're like, Nashville, like it's coming back, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, it got canceled, and then they brought it back.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Alrighty then. I mean, so Erin, like my question is, I haven't watched the Mindy Project, but I've heard like really, really good things about it. So do you think that Hulu is doing? I mean, it seems you think that Hulu is doing a good job with it.
I think the Mindy Project is one of those shows that it's just, I guess it's just an example of one of those shows that's happened because for me, I feel like it started out as one thing and then very quickly changed into something else. And that happened before it got canceled, before it got canceled on Fox. That happened. And so I wouldn't say necessarily that it's better or different on Hulu. It's just it got canceled by one and then picked up by something else.
Okay.
I think there are different examples, like with the Mindy Project and Nashville are very specific examples where, like, those are shows that are still running and they still have stories that can be told. I mean, whether you think that story should be limited is another thing that we should probably discuss. But there were stories that were running and they were still under option. So it was normal for them to get picked up by another network. That's something that happens, as opposed to like shows that died and then come back later. I think is a different.
So let's talk about maybe Gilmore Girls. That's an example of something that's kind of happening. This whole like revamp and reboot thing is very trendy and buzzy right now, and Gilmore Girls is a great example. I mean, that's been off the air for several years, and then all of a sudden Netflix is like, oh, guess what? We are bringing it back for a limited series. Same actors, same characters. What are your thoughts about it?
I mean, generally, I very much enjoy Netflix shows, but I and I love, love, love Gilmore Girls. So no matter what, I'm excited that it's coming back. I'm excited to see what they have to do with it. Some of the other shows that we have listed to talk about, though, are in the same boat as that, where the show didn't so much, it ended. And I mean, it kind of ended organically, minus the fact that, like, Amy Sherman Palladino wasn't involved for a while, and like the last couple seasons, especially the second to last season, were not very good. But like they've done Netflix. This will be it's the third show that I know I will watch that they've done it with. They did it with Arrested Development, and they did it, which was actually canceled, just bam, out of the blue. And then they did basically a reunion show, a Full House, called Fuller House, which is what Gilmore Girls is going to be. And like I wasn't that fond of their Arrested Development or Fuller House. It's like I enjoyed them, but not in the same way I enjoyed the original series. And that's kind of what I'm worried is going to happen with Gilmore Girls. They're doing, what is it, 4 like 1 hour long episodes, one that focuses on each season of the year, which is, I don't know, interesting to me. My big question is, are they going to have snow on the trees in Connecticut in the winter episode? Are they just going to be traipsing around in that winter episode with their light jackets and cute scarves, like you can actually go out in the middle of winter in Connecticut wearing clothes like that?
It's Stars Hollow. It's magic.
Yeah. I grew up in a town that looks exactly like Stars Hollow. So I don't know how magic it is, but...
So what do you think compels like networks or studios or whatever to pick up these series years later?
I can tell you that based on like getting things made at the moment, it's all based on established intellectual property. So in order to get something funded, it has to have an established IP. So you've got to have an established, which is why they're bringing back and rebooting and revamping, and a lot of things like people are putting out comic books and writing books of stuff that they want to get made because it creates an established IP that they can get made into a movie or a TV show, because that's just the only way that's just the trend with, I guess, the people, the money men. You have to have that in order to, because it's, I guess the audiences are smaller and more limited. You need to be guaranteed a certain like chunk of that limited audience in order to get something made.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's like with shows like Full House was just, I mean, it was a hugely popular show in its time. Gilmore Girls was also very popular, but it was kind of on that line of being popular and cult. And like Arrested Development was mostly just like a cult following. So I guess but they all have a big following of some sort. And honestly, Netflix right now, they have the following and the money of their own. I
think that also comes from like the rise of Netflix and streaming services, because these shows have been put on the streaming services. They found a whole new audience, like shows that didn't have like broad mainstream appeal before, just had like cult followings, but were really good, have found new audiences with streaming because they're all the episodes are available there, and people sit down and they watch them, and then suddenly people are talking about them on the internet, and they're talking about them, and they're like, wow, I've just discovered this show, it's great, and I've just watched all 7 seasons of Gilmore Girls in the like the last 3 days or something. And so yeah, that kind of
3 days is really fast.
Yeah, hey, just like I don't think you can. I think there's not enough hours, but maybe.
Yeah, from now.
Yeah.
I think yeah, they just there's brought back a whole new audience for that, and I don't know. I mean, it's bizarre because like a lot of these TV shows were cancelled for a very good reason. Like things like X-Files and Gilmore Girls, their last few seasons were quite terrible. And like, it's fine when you kind of watch it all in a row, right? And so you still kind of get the nostalgic value, and you're like, okay, this is not the best storyline ever. Like, why does Luke have a child? But okay, whatever. We'll move on. And the last episode's quite nice, you know, it's got a hopeful feel and everything turns out quite well. And but yeah, you got to like. I remember watching, because I watched Gilmore Girls and I watched the X-Files when they were on, and you sort of like, you at the time you were like, okay, yeah, this show is kind of gone.
Yeah.
It's died, you know, it's time, it's gone past its prime, really, and then they kind of bring it back like it, and I'm not 100% sure that is always going to work out very well.
So do you think that it's more like the studios and networks pushing this, or is it more like fans wanting to feel nostalgic?
I mean, I think it's the like Netflix, and then also in some cases the networks like Fox with X-Files. I think they know that people want that nostalgia, and that's why they're bringing them back. Like I mean, they probably, I'm sure they do the marketing studies on it and everything, and like, but the problem is like, yeah, we want to see these things again, but we want them done the way they were when we really loved them. And like with X-Files, with that reboot, or not even a reboot, it was like just a, you know, like basically a mini series, 6 episodes of like a 10th season or whatever. It was not good.
Yeah, I mean,
so, and I think Netflix in general has done a better job. Like I mentioned, Arrested Development. Arrested Development was one of the ones that was just like up and canceled, and it did have a big cult following, and it gathered a bigger cult following after the fact through syndication and you know, Netflix and everything running it. But it was a decent new like season of Arrested Development on Netflix, but it had its own problems. Like they couldn't get all of the actors in the same place at the same time, so it had this thing where each episode focused on one particular character's storyline and had maybe a couple other characters in it, and it just wasn't well done. It wasn't as fun to watch as the original series. You know, versus X-Files, where they brought so many people back, and like it was just, I mean, the Arrested Development one wasn't badly written or anything. It was just not, it wasn't produced very well, versus X-Files, which was just all over the board. They had like 2 really good episodes, and the other 4 were so bad that they overrode the 2 good ones they had. Mulder as like of like the whole religious like conspiracy theorist or conservative conspiracy theorist thing, I just can't.
Well, and that's kind of what concerns me with campaigns of recently canceled shows, trying to get them picked up by a different network. For example, Hannibal, which I love that show. It's just one of my favorite shows. Obviously, it got canceled by NBC, and our admin, Angel, was one that was very vocal and active to try to get it picked up by somewhere, which is great, but I also wonder if it did get picked up, would the quality remain the same?
And I think it's kind of a toss-up. It depends on who picks it up and where they insist on going with it. I mean, like Firefly, oh my God, when did Firefly end? And there are still people campaigning to bring Firefly back, and it's like,
it's dead, man. I was one of those people that was campaigning. Like I've always like I always loved to save our show campaigns, and I've been a part of them for like years, like sending like things to people, and it was always great. It's kind of like become like a bit of a joke on the internet because it's so easy to do, I guess. Now you just like write a tweet and like that's fine and it's great, but like it's not kind of the same as like when you're trying to save Dark Angel and you're cutting out like you know, barcodes and sending them to studios, you know, to network executives going, and then they're getting like, you know, or with Roswell when people were sending hot sauce.
Well, that makes sense, because I think that like it kind of depends too on the circumstances of how the show or what the show what's going on in the show when it gets canceled.
Yeah.
So like I always bring up the heartbreaking cancellation of Witches of East End. I loved that show. Okay, I loved it, and it was so cheesy and like soapy, but I loved it. And then they had this great finale, and it ended on a cliffhanger, and then it got canceled. And you're like, no, what's gonna happen? You know, and it's like, I would want that show to just come back for like a limited series or like a TV movie and just be like, hey, we realized we canceled this on a cliffhanger. Here's what happened.
I think for me, the big thing is making sure that everybody involved is still invested. Because I think a lot of the time when they do that, when the show gets cancelled, everyone kind of accepts that that show is cancelled, and then they bring it back. And the people who come back, either they can't get the whole team, or all of the actors don't want to come back, and they're no longer under contract, so they can't just force them all to come back. Or if they do force them to come back, they don't really want to be there. And it sort of feels really dirty and just like doesn't, like, it loses the magic, I guess, that those shows had before, because everyone's like, ugh. Like with Nashville, they're talking about how Connie Britton wants to leave, right?
Yeah.
And she's like the main star of the show. So it's like, and she can't because contracts.
Well, and so let's go back to talk about The Lost Boys, because obviously The Lost Boys, this awesome movie, you can't have the Coreys back for the show.
You can't.
One of them is deceased. So, I mean, is it going to be as good? I don't know.
I think
I have high hopes. Like, you can't bring back those same characters or whatever. So,
I'm not inherently against reboots, as long as they bring something new. Like, I don't like reboots that are just the same thing again. If you're just gonna, like, they remade Ben-Hur, right? And it's like just basically the same movie, just worse.
Oh, is that out already?
Yeah. Well, it's out here. I don't know if it's out where you are.
I think it's out.
I literally didn't know about it until, shoot, I don't even know. It was like recently. I was like, oh, that's a thing? Okay.
They didn't advertise it at all.
Well, I think they knew it was terrible, so didn't want anyone to know about it. Yeah, see, I think that is, like, that's pointless. You're just remaking the movie, like, basically exactly the same, as opposed to, like, Ghostbusters, who's like, okay, so take this story and put a new slant on it. Right? Tell it from a different perspective, tell it in a different way. And that's interesting, that's fun, that's exactly what fan fiction does, I guess, in a way. It's like, I'll take this story and, like, what if, like, this one little thing was different, or, like, what if I made it like this? And you're telling the same story, and it's still a reboot, but you're telling something different. You're adding something to the conversation, I guess.
Yeah.
But this kind of trend of just remaking stuff exactly the same is just terrible.
Well, I guess probably the closest thing I can think of to that is Fuller House. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuller House was bad, but it was also hilarious. It was so bad it was hilarious, right?
Okay. Sorry. I have to interject here, because Fuller House, yes, it was funny, but it was the exact same formula as Full House. You've got the woman who has the dead spouse, and then the sibling moves in, and then the friend is like next door or whatever, and then it's like all these wholesome stories with the kids who are precocious and fun, and it's like it's the exact same formula.
Yeah, and it doesn't add anything, right, to the story.
No, not really.
No.
I would contrast that to Girl Meets World, which is the kind of reboot of Boy Meets World, and it's done really well. And like it tells, like, it's the same formula, but it has like a different perspective because it's a girl, and it's got the same actors in there, and I think they do a reasonably good job of that. I just think that there's ways to do reboots that don't feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Like, say a play that basically just tells the same story again, just worse.
Yeah, I haven't seen Girl Meets World yet, but I do know they bring a lot of people back for it. But you say, I mean, have you watched it? Is it good?
Yeah, it's it's a kids show, so there's bits that I'm like, but yeah, no, it's really well done, and they do it really well because they bring back those characters, and you're seeing those same characters like deal with adulthood, but it's still mostly about the kids.
Gotcha.
So
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, so that adds I think there's ways to do it. Just don't just like with Lost Boys, if they just do I don't think Rob Thomas will do this because he's really good at this, but if they just redid the movie again.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people think it's going to be, but I don't think it's going to be that way. And I would not be as sold on it if Rob Thomas was not associated with it, because I think that Rob Thomas is very clever. I think that he's going to use the whole vampire mythology of that town that was kind of alluded to in the original film. We're not going to have the same characters, but one of the best parts about that movie was, again, in my opinion, the Corey Haim character, who is just mouthy and precocious and fast talking, and that's the kind of stuff that Rob Thomas does and does really well. And so I can totally see where it would just be a spin kind of on that mythology and not necessarily a remake.
Yeah. No, I definitely.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, at this point, I kind of have a pretty high trust in Rob Thomas because I love iZombie so much.
Yeah.
So, I'm not, and also I haven't seen the original movie, which I guess I'll have to do soon.
Yeah, you got to put that at the top of your list, Tara. Come on. It's seriously the best. It's so good. Oh yeah, and Edward Herrmann's in it, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was not allowed to watch a lot of things when I was young, so I'm lucky I caught up on the things I did catch up on in high school and mostly college and after college. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we've got a good mix here of shows that were revamped or rebooted or reunioned, really is probably the better word for ones like Arrested Development and Fuller House, and probably Gilmore Girls and X-Files as well. With Fuller House, they took this, like you said, they took the same exact formula and just recreated it in the same thing. But with Gilmore Girls, I don't really see how they're gonna do that.
Yeah, I think of that more as it's a revival because it's the same characters and we're just catching up with them.
Well, I mean, and I think that's kind of how Fuller House was supposed to be. It was
but they still have to remember that they're telling a story. You cannot rely solely on nostalgia. I mean, I think X-Files learned that. You can't rely solely on the idea that everyone just automatically already loves these characters and will follow them doing whatever. You still have to have a good story. You still have to have something to say.
With X-Files, I think they didn't. They had the beginnings of a good story with the first couple of episodes, and then they just went totally off the rails, and they just. Those 6 episodes, they were trying to give us the episodes that we loved from X-Files, but they were trying to cram all the types of episodes that we loved into 6 episodes.
Yeah.
You get the monster episode, you get the ones where they build on the mythology episodes, and it was just too. They were trying too hard to just, and they couldn't do it in 6 episodes, and then they added weird stuff in that did not belong there.
And it
Like
ends up
I love Joel McHale, but ugh.
and it ends up kind of feeling like these stories end up feeling like kind of, I guess, narrative by committee, where they're like, oh, they liked that, we'll put that in there. Oh, they like that, we'll put that in there. I always like to tell the story of my mom worked on this movie that was being made in the 80s, and she said that the director, every time he saw a movie, would like that was really popular, would come in and say that we need to add this scene into the movie that we're making because he'd seen it in another movie and go, no, we need a dance sequence because he saw like Flashdance, right?
I love dance sequences.
I do too, but like some movies shouldn't really have a dance sequence.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, but it was kind of that's how I kind of feel about like the X-Files and some of these like reboots and stuff and revamps. It's like remember when they really liked that one episode? We'll just do so, or they really like that one character. We'll throw them in even though we have no logical reason or like narrative reason to put them there. We'll just bring them back. It's fine.
So let me pose a follow-up question then. Do you think that some of these like revamps, reboots, whatever, can be avoided down the line if a series or whatever provides closure to the fans?
I think that fans are always going to want more. Okay,
Yeah.
like I don't necessarily think that they should give fans more, but
Well,
fans
and
are always
I
going to want
mean,
more.
a lot of these shows, like I said, like they ended organically. The problem is in certain cases, like with X-Files and with Gilmore Girls, they ended with some kind of, some pretty crappy last couple seasons. And like, so they I think that they should have, I think if they ended shows earlier, Lost, rather than trying to drag them out, Lost, then fans would, they may want more, yeah, but I think in a lot of cases they would be more likely to be like, okay, yeah, like I felt that this ended on a good note, not I just sat through one or two or three really shitty seasons of this show that I love, to get an organic ending that could have happened one or two or three seasons ago.
I always
You know what I'm saying?
think about Gossip Girl, which was not a great show, but I adored it. It was my like guilty pleasure for like the first three seasons. They basically decided to end it. Like they cancelled it essentially, but then they were like, no, we're going to bring it back for a 15-episode final season so that we can end it. And it was literally the worst thing that has ever happened. It was like it just stomped on everything that had happened in all the seasons. It was like the people writing it were angry at fans for making them write more episodes. And they're just like, it's just astonishing how bad it is. It's just like, and it's because they knew they were getting cancelled, right? So they just did not care, like it was going to end. So they didn't care, and they just seemed really bitter about everything. And it was just like, I would have preferred this show just ended.
That's
I
fair.
watched one season of Gossip Girl, so
I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible show. I would not recommend it to anyone. But
we all have
I
our
dodged
guilty
a bullet
pleasures.
there.
yeah, but the last thing, yeah, and just the last episode particularly is just you're watching it. I remember watching it with people who were like fans, and we it was our guilty pleasure show, and we watch it every week, and we were like, what is going on? Like, what? It was like,
Do either of you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I have watched it. I've seen all of them.
Yeah, I just watched the 10th season, of which I'd seen like one or two random episodes when they were airing, but like hadn't watched the whole season. And I think there's an 11th season, maybe two. But like that's one of those shows where it's kind of like Family Guy, where it's still funny sometimes, but they just keep recycling like the same old jokes and or making the characters just worse and worse people. And it's like, I know you guys are having fun with this, but how are people still like really into this show? Because I don't get it.
we sort of like have it. You get to the point where like there's no more story to tell. Like no one even gives a shit. There's a certain show on the CW that is a bit like this. Um, and yeah, you just kind of watch it and you're like, you just like, I don't know why I'm watching this. It's not giving me anything. There's absolutely zero story to tell.
There's a certain show on the CW. You're not going to tell us what?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, a certain show that's maybe gone on for quite too long.
I don't know.
All right, well, yes. Thank you for indulging me in this conversation. I was interested to hear your thoughts.
No, it's been good. It's been good, yeah.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think sometimes, I think even when it works, it doesn't work the way we want or expect it to. And that's the biggest problem.
Right.
I mean, it's like me with Gilmore Girls. Like, I'm hyped and I want it. Like, I can't wait. And I'm going to love it no matter what because I just love the characters and I love the story. But at the same time, I'm like, no, but in my mind, I've worked out exactly what happens to every single one of these characters after that series ended. I have a very elaborate scenario where everything worked out perfectly the way I wanted. And I know that this TV show is not going to be that.
I swear to God, if Rory has anything going on with Logan other than, like, a vague sort of, like, acquaintanceship.
When she accidentally murdered him once? I don't know. That's all I would like.
All right.
Oh, Logan.
Yeah.
Clearly not a Geekiary fave because you aren't the only one, and
no one likes
are the only ones who don't like Logan.
He was just terrible.
No one likes Logan. You're like, and
I feel like he would have been okay on his own, but with Rory, he was terrible.
Rory just has terrible taste in dudes.
That's true, but
Rory
also
just has terrible taste in dudes.
Yeah. But also, that's kind of, I mean, so does her mom in general. Or well, no, her mom has great taste in dudes. Actually, they were all pretty good, if you discount the whole Luke kid situation. But
I just see in my scenario that never happened. See?
Yeah, it's great.
Imaginary.
No, they imagine. See, this is why I hate. Like, I kind of like want. There's like my vanishness is split because I'm like I want more. I want more because I'm I have no self control and I need more. But at the same time I don't because I like to have my own ideas about what happens, and I don't want them to be ruined by people who are wrong.
Anyway, actually, you know what? This kind of goes along with the whole, like, sequels, reboot, revamp, blah, blah, blah. Are we still talking about Cursed Child?
I think we kind of talked about it in there. I think, yeah. I don't know. Did either of you guys read it?
I read your like review or article about it, Vaughn, which I thought was astonishingly well written, like really, really good. It was like one of the best articles I've read on our site, honestly. And
yes,
like,
I agree.
I read about 6 pages of it and thought it was so like. And listen, I was in theater for years and years and years, like. So I'm reading this as a script and understanding that it is a script and understanding that it is a fucking awful script.
Okay, you guys keep talking. I'm going to take bathroom break.
Okay.
So, yeah, I read about 6 pages of it. And eventually I will probably force myself to read it, but...
Yeah. I gather a lot of, like, it loses a lot in translation. I think the staging is supposed to be quite good, but still, it's terrible. Yeah. It's just not very good. Like,
well, and I've read enough about what they do with, like, the whole Hermione situation and everything that I'm just like, and don't even get me started on what they do to Cedric. Like, we're doing minor spoilers here.
No.
But, like, between Hermione and Cedric, like, what I know about what happens to them, I'm, like, just dreading the time when I have to force myself to read it. But, yeah, like I said, I read, like, 6 pages of it, and I was like, this is a horrible horrible script. I've read dozens and dozens. I haven't done theater in a long time, but I've read scripts, and I know what a good script reads like, and this is not one of them.
The dialogue is genuinely terrible at times.
It's horrible. It's like stilted and like awkward and just.
I think that this all comes down to kind of my reaction to it comes down to like how I feel about giving fans what they want, like, and fan service, because there's like this should, like, in like theory, the Cursed Child should have been something that I adored, because Draco Malfoy was my favorite character. I was super into the idea of Albus and Scorpius and what happened to them afterwards, and I was like, this is like, it really should have just been like what I wanted, and I'm reading it going, this is trash. Like, this is not real.
Yep, and that's kind of how I felt when I read the spoiler article about it. And I kept thinking, this can't be real. Like,
it can't be real. It is real. It is real. It's fine. It's fine.
Anyway, so
sometimes you just gotta let it go. And this is where I'm like, I think canon is just, you just pick and choose what canon you want.
Well, Benioff and Weiss certainly do that with Song of Ice and Fire, so we're all good at that. So anyway, blah, 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 Cursed Child. Are we still talking about Hiddleswift? Because I haven't heard anything about it in forever. Swizzle Sticks?
No.
Like, I even stopped talking about Swizzle Sticks because it's died down. Are they still dating? Do we even know?
We don't know. They're not dating that publicly. I mean, she's not in Australia anymore, as far as I know.
Well, I haven't heard anything at all about the two of them since, like,
at the moment.
Oh, yeah, but what's she doing? Is she touring? Because if she's not, why isn't she hanging on his arm? Because they were like attached at the hip for a month.
Who even knows, man? I mean, It might be that they weren't actually dating. Like, I mean,
boy, I wonder. Yeah.
I don't want to judge people though, so
Yeah. So Hiddleswift is coming to an end. Whether or not they're actually still dating or ever were is a question for the Times.
It doesn't really matter.
And I mean the general Times, not the New York Times.
I feel like they would probably write an article. Haven't they written an article about?
No, I don't know. The New York Times maybe not. Like the New York Post probably.
I haven't heard anything, nor have I sought out anything. So.
Oh, very good, Erin.
Yeah, I've actually been like.
We didn't catch sight of them at San Diego Comic-Con, so.
Unfortunately.
Was she at San Diego Comic-Con? Did we hear?
No, she was not. His people told her to stay away.
Ooh.
Is what I heard.
Drama.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why we haven't seen much of them lately.
Maybe. All I know is they've been shooting in Brisbane, like, on the streets at the moment. So there's like thousands of. It's on the news every single night in Australia. Shooting Thor. And I'm like, it's fun.
Yes.
All right. Upcoming events. I'll go first since mine is next week. Dragon Con. I'm not prepared at all. Seriously, not at all. Like, at least 3 of my costumes aren't finished, and when I say aren't finished, I mean I ordered stuff for them like in July and it never came in. And I still need to finish making the costume with these base pieces that I ordered, so that's going to be interesting. Becca and I are both going to be there as press for the Geekiary, and we've both put in our max number of interview requests. I mean, last year we did the same thing, and we only got I think we only got 4 interviews, and then in the end, one of them didn't show and the other one canceled. So we'll see what happens. Like, I don't even want to say who I put in for or who we put in for because I don't want to get anybody hyped up about it because several of them are long shots, and the ones that aren't it's like even if we were to get the ones that aren't long shots, they could always be ones who cancel or don't show. So that's about it. But I'm excited for Dragon Con regardless.
Cool.
Even if I'm just not prepared.
You'll get there. I mean, it's next week, so.
Yeah, I'll get there somehow.
You could probably hear my dog again scratching on the chair.
I was gonna ask what that was.
You guys are always like, "What's that sound?" Because he always does it right in the middle of the webcast every time. Anyway, New York Comic Con is coming up October 6th through 9th. Yay!
And we have a couple of people. Jamie's going to that, right? And maybe Dot too.
Yes.
And so they are not on the webcast, but they're Geekiary writers. We've got a couple of people covering that. And then honestly, like, I'm probably going to MegaCon Tampa Bay simply because it's close, and that's over Halloween weekend or the weekend right before actual Halloween. And when I say probably, it's like I've got a hotel room, but I don't have a ticket yet. We'll see what happens. They're not even like accepting like guest or press applications right now because the Fan Expo who runs it has their big Fan Expo over Labor Day weekend, the same weekend as Dragon Con. So I'll know for sure the next time we webcast whether or not I'm going to that convention. But other than that, that's kind of it. I mean, that is it for me for the rest of the year. So.
Well,
excellent.
I have Oz Comic Con is coming up. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go because it's the same weekend as my brother's birthday, but I'm going to try and get there for at least one day. And I've got my 30th birthday is coming up. So I'm going to be old.
Yeah. How soon?
At the end of September, so.
Yeah.
And I'm having a One Direction themed birthday party.
Oh my god.
So I've been making decorations. It's been pretty fun.
Oh yeah. I think I got the like invite, the Facebook invite to your birthday party, but like as much as I wish I could come to Australia.
You guys can't come. I invited everyone. I was like, I'm just gonna invite all my friends.
Oh no, trust me. If there was like, if I could make it out there, I would do it in a freaking heartbeat. But
Same.
Need to like
$1,000
charter planes from people. And I am going back to England in November, and I'm going to go see The Cursed Child. So.
Ooh, so we'll actually have like a play.
I will be able to say whether it is actually better on the stage than it is.
Yay!
All right. I have no cons coming up for the rest of the year because unfortunately WishCon has been postponed until 2017. I have no other info about that. It has not been canceled, just pushed back a little bit. So as soon as I have more information about dates, I'll let everybody know because I still would like to attend.
I mean, I would too. For me, it was just like happening on a bad weekend. So
yeah, I think that might have been part of it. I mean, it was right before Thanksgiving, so we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, recommendations. Okay. I'll go first because Okay, so I'm going to recommend something a little bit weird. I'm going to recommend IMSI, which is like a new kind of social media community tool. It's in beta at the moment, but I have some invites if anyone wants one. Basically, you build communities. It's kind of like a mix between, I guess, Tumblr and LiveJournal. And it's really good because it's got very good kind of policing tools. Like you can like block people and prevent them from seeing your, and really control who's allowed to engage in your community, which is something that obviously other social media platforms really lack, and is something that we kind of need, especially with fandom, because people are awful, and I don't really want to talk to any of them apart from the nice ones. So yeah, I've only just kind of started it on there, and I'm just kind of trying to figure it out. But it seems to be pretty good so far, and it's blowing up a bit. So yeah, I'm going to recommend that. imzy.com. imzy.com.
All right.
Cool.
I actually just brought it up, so.
Yeah, I can send you an invite if you would
That's
like.
what I was just about to. I was just about to message you on Facebook.
Okay. Anyone else
Yeah,
got
you might as
recommendations?
well just share that with me too. So, woo woo.
Erin,
Anything else?
recommendations?
Oh, me. Okay. Stranger Things. It's this cool show on Netflix that you've probably seen a ton of fan art and like memes about because it's just so buzzy. Like it's so easy to just get involved in it. Stranger Things. I know that Tara's going to talk about this too, so take it away.
I mean, not even talk about it too. That's just like it's literally the only thing I've really watched in the past. Actually, you know what? Yes, I will absolutely. I'm seconding Erin's Stranger Things. You know what? I'm also going to say though, and I'm planning on writing a recommendation for this. I just haven't had time yet. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is great.
Yes,
I love
I've been
Crazy
watching that.
Ex-Girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah, like I watched like half the first episode actually with Becca, and then she didn't really want to watch it, and I wasn't like super into it. But it's like you get through the end of that first episode, and it's hard to stop watching it after that. Like I was really, it's got its down like its low points, but as a whole, it's something very different. It is a musical TV show, but the music isn't theater, like musical theater music all the time. And even when it is, it's so vaguely musical theater that it's still kind of mainstream. And the characters are sometimes horrible and sometimes, you know, almost all the time hilarious. Like, I mean, honestly, they have one of the secondary, not main, but secondary characters is a bisexual character, and like that is, I mean, a positive bisexual character that is almost like unheard of these days.
Well,
So
and also I will talk about that too. Like, first of all, Rachel Bloom, who is the female lead, is just a treasure. She's incredibly talented and hilarious, which is awesome.
oh, she is.
But the fact that her character is like a white woman and she follows her ex-boyfriend to his hometown and he is Filipino American, like, you don't get the Asian love interest a lot who is a male.
Especially being the kind of heartthrob hottie too, like
right.
not the kind of like nerdy one, I guess, in a way, or the other one. Whereas like in this one he is very much the heartthrob.
Yes, I appreciated that, and he is pretty adorable.
And speaking of the bisexual character, he gets a song that's great, and I just listen to it all the time. I love it.
It's such a good show.
I think it I will warn people that it can like be, it misses sometimes, and when it does miss, it is like you're like But when it's on point, it's amazing.
And the guy who voices Prince Hans is on it, so just watch it.
Which I like seeing what he looks like is very interesting.
But his voice is so amazing. I love him. Anyway. Yeah.
All right. So we're done then for another month. No more recommendations. I don't have a question. I'm sorry.
I'm so bad at these. I think I've asked them like twice
I'm
before.
bad at questions
Never.
too.
Oh my god! No! I've got one.
Okay.
If you could have one of your favorite villains have a long lost child, who would you want to have a long lost child?
Okay. What? If
I think all my villain. I think all
a villain to have a long lost child.
Like first of all, like my favorite villains are like Hades from the Disney movie Hercules and like Magneto, who already has children. So I don't.
Does Hades have children? Yeah.
Kenny though, he's like a, I guess not. So Hades.
Yeah, but
Let's go with Hades.
this is a magical scenario where anything is
Okay.
possible.
Okay, we're gonna go with Hades for me.
Yeah. See, I reckon he'd be a really that I would 100% read domestic fic about Hades being a dad. Because Hades would be a stay-at-home dad.
I could get down with that.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be the domestic dad.
I'm struggling with this question.
What? So you know it's funny because you're like Darth Vader already had kids and he did not go well with that. And,
Yeah.
no, spoiler. Sorry.
It's like a 40-year-old spoiler. It's fine.
I don't want to spoil the major plot twist for anyone. I didn't say who his kids are.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of villains now. I thought about the question and I'm like, because like you think of all Disney villains and having them have kids would be.
Yeah.
Some of that would be like worrisome though. Oh, Captain Hook? Well, can he have kids though?
What? I think anything is possible. He could have kids.
I suppose.
I just imagine like
What if Negan had a kid?
Ugh. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, no, it's just weird because it's like you take the villains out of like a lot of them do have kids, but when they don't, you take them out and imagine them like looking after a crying baby. It's quite funny.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was my question. So,
I think we did okay with that. Now I want to see Hades have a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still struggling, but I did my best.
You did well.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, I guess we're all good. So hopefully we'll be back on schedule now. I know with Comic-Con and everything, we kind of got we needed some recovery time.
Yeah. Well, we also had like 4 webcasts last month or something. 3 webcasts.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, by the way, Comic-Con was pretty fun.
Yes.
So.
Fine, just talk it up. It's okay. Some of us didn't. I'm cool. All right. We're done.
Okay, I will close this thing out. I'm Erin, along with Tara and Vaughn. Thank you again for joining us for Feelings with the Geekiary, August edition. Remember, we're a free webcast run off of donations from viewers like you. Thanks for contributing and helping our host site, the Geekiary. We'll see you next month. Bye.
Bye.